Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this session on Optimove Data Share. So over the next 20 minutes or so, we'll take a look at how we can access and make best use of this capability. My goals for this session are 3. If you don't know what data share is, hopefully I will educate you. If you're already aware of it and using it, hopefully I can inspire you. And most importantly of all, I'm hoping to convince the organizers of Optimove Connect that it's a terrible idea to give me 20 minutes of unrestricted access to a laser pointer. Now, I am John Collins, Director of Marketing Analytics here at Optimove. With me today, we've removed his name from the slides, unfortunately, should have been Ben Golan, who's the product owner for Data Share. Unfortunately, he's been unable to travel due to the situation in the Middle East. If you have any real technical questions or provisioning questions, I do have a QR code near the end of the deck, so you'll be able to reach out to him directly with any of those questions. But we'll do our best in the meantime. So let me start out with a question. How many times have you found that your decision-making process has been slowed or even stopped because you didn't have access to all the data that you needed when you needed it? Data share is all about making sure that you have better access to your data alongside the data that Optimove generates from your activity. And this can be a silver bullet in ensuring that everyone in your business has an answer to the business questions that are facing them today. Now, I can't really see because of the blinding lights in my eyes here, but if you give me a quick show of hands, who here is roughly familiar with the positionless marketer concept at this point? That's good, because that was a trap question, and you're actually in for a quiz. Can anybody just shout out the names of the powers that sort of underpin the positionless marketer? That is one, but it's not one of them. Yes, sir.
Strategy, analysis, execution.
You're almost there. I think that's probably what we call optimization power. The other powers, creative power, and thematically for this one, data power. So as I mentioned, three concepts underpinning this idea of positionless marketers. Have a read of Pinney's book. It'll explain it all very deeply in there. But this concept of data power is really about advanced decisioning using data. And one of the prerequisites for that is actually having access to the right data in the first place. So for those of you in marketing positions, this is how you're going to make sure that that power has all the fuel that you need to actually action it. So what is data share? Data share is Optimove's framework for provisioning our clients with the data that we hold, enrich, and generate on your behalf. Now, do any of you today use the API endpoints? Yeah, handful, cool. So this is basically the next evolution in the way that you will obtain data from Optimove. So historically, we've had a set of API endpoints, and these are really, really good at giving access to certain questions. But over time, they've not really kept pace with the requirements of a smarter and more data-driven business that most of you have become. So with data share, we're really looking to increase the scale and scope of the data that you have access to. And to give you an even better benefit of using it, it's much easier to work with as well. All you really need to have is a little bit of SQL knowledge or access to a friendly ChatGPT account, and you will be able to work with this data. So that means we're not really working and bounded by the limitations of these API calls anymore. There's no ETL required. All of your data just gets made available to you in easy-to-use databases, delivered seamlessly to you. Now, what data is available in data share? So it's going to give you a holistic view of your marketing data across 5 key areas. First, customer data. I'm not just talking about reflecting back the data that you send to us in the first place. This is enriched customer profile data that is available to you on your instances. So the entire single customer view is shared in a flattened, easy-to-use structure. It contains hundreds of customer attributes, including your calculated attributes, RFM analysis, out-of-the-box segmentations, event-based aggregations, and predictive values as well. We'll get onto that one a little bit later. This is really great for monitoring and analyzing your customer activity against key business considerations. The second grouping is campaign data. So this is where we're going to get a full picture of our campaign metadata and configuration information. So here you'll be able to find all of your target groups that you're sending out, the channels that you are sending them via, the templates assigned to your campaigns, the assigned marketing actions that we are measuring against, promotions that have been applied, scheduling information. And probably most importantly of all, once your campaigns have wrapped up and are concluded through the exclusion periods, the results can be added as well. So you're going to be able to measure your campaign success against any KPI that you are tracking in mission control. So you don't just have one at a time, you can see them all at the same time. It's really cool. The third level is our decisioning layer. So here is where you're going to be able to see who has ended up in a test group or a control group, who has been excluded from a certain segment, and maybe why as well. This can give you, when you combine it with the previous layer, a clear picture of your communication history with each user. Fourth, and for some of you in the room, this is probably the most important one, the deliverability and engagement data. So here is where you're going to be able to basically analyze your full funnel of communications to the users. So you're going to be able to see who was sent a message, and then who's engaged with it in some manner, who has opened your communications, who clicked through to the landing page, who responded. You can also get some negative indicators here as well. So you'll be able to see maybe if your communications have bounced from a user, or if they've unsubscribed from communications based on your campaign data, which is obviously something we're not looking forward to. You can combine these across all of your channels, so you can get a very high-level view of what's working and what's not for given groups of users. And then lastly, the transactional data here. So this is the basically purchase activity history made available in log-level form as well. Based on your vertical, this could be anything from orders made, purchases, deposits, bets made, any other core actions that your business uses here. This rounds out the picture so that you are able to tie your marketing activity back to the core business outcomes that you're trying to drive in the first place. That's a lot of data, so we'll do a little worked example here. So kind of giving it away on the screen a little bit here, but does anyone know what sporting event is happening in the UK today? There we go, you're right. It is, in fact, the Cheltenham Festival. Laser that one for good choice. So for those of you who do not work in gaming, this is the biggest week of the horse racing calendar in the UK and Ireland. A lot of the CRM managers probably here today are going to be answering questions around the performance of their marketing activities during this time. So how can we answer the question of, are my new horse racing bettors betting more than the same group who would have done it last year? Well, this is available through Data Share, right? So our first step would be to identify the users who are betting on horse racing for the first time. This is going to be available through customer profile and transaction history stuff at the top here. But the question isn't really just like, are my horse racing bettors betting more? It's really like, is my marketing activity driving them to bet more? So now we need to add in another layer here. If we look at the campaigns, we'll be able to figure out, okay, well, who's actually been sent a campaign that may have driven this information. We can see the response rates. We can see whether our campaigns are actually working. And just to be a completely onerous person as well, we probably want to make sure that our campaigns actually affected that as well. They want to make sure that those campaigns were engaged with by the users. So now we can layer in our deliverability information here at the bottom, see who engaged with it, who opened clicks, maybe if we were driving more on subscribes. And then this is going to obviously put us in a position where we've combined all of this together and we can say, yeah, actually, they are betting more than last year. So that's really cool. But just answering basic business questions is something a BI report can do. And that's not really what we're about here. We're also about adding more context, more business impact to our solutions here. So just by combining those things as a byproduct almost, we're also able to illuminate the campaigns which have driven the most positive uplift amongst my bettors as well. This is obviously something that you can do in the product, but I think getting through to this stage, much easier to do with a simple SQL query than it would be to go through various different pages on the site. Great. So how do you get the data? Well, Data Share is powered by a partnership with Snowflake, and there are two main ways that you can get access to it. The first, existing Snowflake clients. Anybody using Snowflake today? Great, so like 2 or 3 of you will be able to get access to this very easily, right? It basically connects directly to your data warehouse, to any destination on the Snowflake network. Data will appear as another database alongside your existing data, ready to be queried, interacted with, unioned, whatever. It's also, as I mentioned, just nicely going to appear in that easy-to-work-with format that you can just plug straight into your AI agents. The second option, for those of you who don't have a Snowflake account today, we will provision something called a reader account for you, which is basically Snowflake Lite. It's an environment that we set up on your behalf at no cost to you. It gets a certain amount of tokens to work with, and it effectively gives you access to the data in an organized and ready-to-query format. You can use it through the Snowflake UI if that's the way you want to work through it. You can also, I think, work through the APIs. You'll be able to find more information for doing this on our developer portal. There is a QR code for that one right next to the one where you get messages to Ben and his team. From both options, you can also unload and distribute the data to any mainstream cloud storage provider that you're working with right now, including those 3. That is Snowflake, so presumably you wouldn't want to do that. The bottom line, though, is that you are able to take the information held and stored by Optimove and get it to the places where your in-house data teams are already working today. Very, very easy. So let's take a look at what you might be able to do with that in practice. So like one of the most basic things that you might want to do with the data once you have it into a Snowflake instance is just build a BI dashboard on it. I think we can do a lot more with this, but I think this is one of the most basic use cases, so we'll start out with this. Ben built this himself. And he is not a coder or developer in any way, but he was able to produce this Looker dashboard just with a little bit of AI assistance from ChatGPT. Actually, Claude, sorry, in this case. He was using a custom Claude skill that prepared the data in the layer that required to plug into Looker. And for those of you who know Looker, it's a lot of drag and drop stuff once you get it to this point. The data here is synthetic, but the same set of views, especially if we kind of like look around here, can be applied to everyone in this room's data, giving you a great jumpstart for your first report. Does anyone here work in an organization that doesn't have good access to like a BI team or advanced analytics, something like that? Few people? Yeah, so as I mentioned, once you have access to Snowflake and an AI agent, you can easily produce something like this. So definitely a good place to start. But let's talk about how some of our clients have been using this today in order to enhance their marketing capabilities. So I have 3 examples here. I'm very happy to talk later about more such things that we can think of as well. First up, let's increase the scale and speed of internal analytics. Now, we'll use another worked example here, and it's going to be pretty simple. So a fundamental of marketing activity is knowing who I'm speaking to and how often I'm actually speaking to them. Now, you can get this information in Optimove in a number of different places. Most notably, you'll find it on the dashboard. There's a coverage and live coverage graphic if you sort of scroll down below the line. But you can also find it with some queries in Customer Explorer, and you may also have it in BI reports if it's something the services team has built out for you. Now, that's fantastic. But gaining access to the underlying data can spare us the need to make repeated queries to get the same information, and can also help us answer some deeper questions. So here I'll do a little one-man play about a very common scenario that we have that Data Share can answer very easily. So your CSM will go, hey guys, your coverage rate's a little bit low. And then you'll go, have you removed the unsubscribers from that one? That's a conversation that happens weekly, I think, in client engagements with the Optimove teams. And it's a completely valid point. So, am I communicating with all of my users? Well, you might be, but the data on the dashboard might not show it. So, we can use the information in Data Share to give us that exact set of information. What if I exclude the people who've opted out or are uncontactable for some reason? Now, clients all around Optimove use different fields to derive whether you should communicate with somebody, whether they're a trading risk, whether they're uncontactable, whether there's some kind of like profile opt-outs and things like that. There are lots of different reasons why we might not want to communicate with our clients. And they're not always easily captured within Optimove attributes. But you can start to put things together quite easily through data share queries to produce such a metric. And you can start to layer this as well. So what if I'm like more interested in my highest value users? What if I'm a member of the VIP team? Then I can limit this to my own users in a way which is far, far easier to get access to than, say, like building out a new attribute or a new scoring model within the system itself. Now, again, the data we need for this is actually quite basic, right? So you can find various parts in the customer profile here. You need the campaign information to know if I've actually sent somebody something. And then that gives us a pretty good reason to understand where, like, the coverage and then the frequency of that user. And then finally, we can start to talk about whether we've got unsubscribed or blocked statuses or anything else like that. And if I'm trying to measure my highest value users, maybe I want to throw in something like a value segmentation as well. Very good. So this is going to allow us to illuminate users that we've potentially missed. But it's not just a case of some analytics here. We can also do some more actionable stuff off the back of this. We can obviously download those users, re-upload them as a target group in a CSV form. But we can also start to identify why we're missing users in the first place and fix our targeting so that we are not missing users in the future, particularly key users as in this case. Okay, the second one here. So let's talk about making data available to other members of our team who don't have access to Optimove. In the positionless marketing sense, we would say like the data power echoes well beyond the bounds of Optimove users. So something that we should be asking ourselves, do our users actually like our campaigns? Now, a number of our clients in e-com and financial services, and I'm excluding gaming here because you guys prefer the pressure washer approach to working out campaigns. You just soak everybody and let God sort them out. But when it comes to e-com and financial services, they're a little bit more discerning. They're fine diners. They are utilizing something that we call engagement scoring. So this is where we take deliverability response data. Potentially, we combine that with other profile data based on our customer profile. And we build a segment based on how much the users actually interact with what we're sending. Now, making this data available through data share and ingested into your data warehouse is going to enable all parts of your business access to a single source of truth, whether they use Optimove or not. This is going to help us out with answering the question from one of our first slides, which is, how can each team gain access to the data that they need to solve for their business questions? We're all one team. We're all working towards the same goal. Might be slightly different goals, but if we can help them out, that's fantastic. So in this instance, the team who needs access to the right data is typically going to be something like a customer service agent, call center marketer, maybe something like a VIP handler who works off Optimove on a different system. Now, quite often, these team members don't have or need access to Optimove in its entirety, but through data share, they can get access to the critical information that maximizes their chance of having a successful outcome to the business. And now we arrive at one of the most valuable use cases for data share, in my opinion. The team who are doing this are not in a room, so I feel like I can tell you as much as you want to know, which is what if we can use the advanced decisioning information within Optimove to make changes and power our product. We produce a ton of information about our customers, where they are in the customer journey, their favorite products, average order amounts, their propensity to perform certain actions. What if we could use that to help and inform and then shape the user experience at the front end? So I can give you an example of said big client of ours. They are in the iGaming industry, and they are plagued by one of the most common and perpetual questions that the gaming industry faces, which is, how generous should we be to our clients? The generosity question. How much should I bonus my clients, basically? Now, one way we can answer this question, and maybe the simplest way to answer this question, is to look at the predictive revenue driven by that user and then adjust the parameters of the generosity that's made available to them accordingly. Now, if you've been with Optimove for a while, you probably know this. This is called future value. It's one of the core predictive metrics that is built into everyone's platform. It's available through Data Share and as part of the single customer view that I mentioned earlier, so you'll be able to get that just from that customer table. So we can take that directly with the customer ID and use it to drive changes to the user experience at the front end, allowing for decisioning for dynamic UX, allowing for offers and discounts to our most valuable users that are maybe not available to others. OK, so let's do some takeaways. We can unlock data power. Large-scale data exporting is available through Data Share, allowing for everyone who needs access in their business to have it in a clean and simple-to-access manner, whether that's through coding it themselves or working with AI agents. The data can be made available to your teams outside of Optimove users, enabling Optimove's data power to be shared across the business. Second, you can gain access to all of the foundational, holistic marketing data in an instant, allowing for universal use of user behavior across all of your marketing activity. And lastly, as we saw in that last slide, we can positively impact our product through closer integration with Optimove data by making use of some of the more complex predictive metrics that we generate and maintain on your behalf. I promised you some QR codes. So if anybody has any particularly technical questions about the data inside Optimove Data Share, I would recommend that you check out the developer portal. It's got a great amount of stuff in there about the different ways that you might want to interact with it, how you get started, some of the restrictions on reader accounts and things. Any more technical questions or provisioning information, you can definitely reach out to Ben and the team. As I mentioned, he did produce that Looker dashboard that we saw earlier using a Claude skill. He's more than happy just to share that with you guys. He can also give you a one-on-one playbook on getting started and really just hit the ground running. And that is it. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, I am more than happy to stick around and take questions for use cases and things like that. It's kind of my core job. For anything that's more technical, there are a lot of product guys from the Optimove team here as well. I will try and lasso some of them if you have more questions. Otherwise, hopefully, Ben and his team are your guys. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful time at Optimove Connect.